I'm so honoured to be asked to speak at your AGI conference. Here I am with AGI in London. I am well aware cultures can vary, but love, acceptance, and the immense value of each individual does not. Mountains can be challenging, frightening, overwhelming, but also beautiful, reflecting light. Just as dementia can be challenging, overwhelming, but can be transformed with the light and warmth of the love and the care of God, and also the care and love of those around. And churches are one of the best places to show this, as all people are welcome. We're all scarred, affected in some way by life, whether by health or circumstance, often not shown publicly. Churches can support those living with dementia and those supporting them. Churches should be safe places, understanding basic dementia principles. I have had the privilege of experiencing dementia from 4 different perspectives. My father had dementia, so I know something of how it affects families. I had patients living with dementia when working as a doctor, saw how it affected them and the different family responses. I then received a diagnosis of dementia myself and had to take early retirement. So I learned about it from the inside. And now, over the last 10 years, I've had the opportunity and privilege of living with over 100 people with dementia in 2 different dementia-inclusive communities, walking the path with them. And I have learnt so much about what works and what does not. And I am still learning. So what are the 3 principles that apply to everyone? The top picture looks a bit like a garden, but it isn't. You can see me in pink and someone taking a picture. It's actually an extraordinary high, long mirror in someone's garden to make it look twice as big as it is. So the first principle is there's always a reason for everything that a person with dementia does or says, even if it seems strange. The second principle is that feelings remain when facts are forgotten or misunderstood. I really enjoyed the visit to the strange garden, remembering it as much larger than it actually was. The third principle is that patterns continue. The patterns of friendship, patterns of place or activity. It was so lovely to meet your Secretary General at the AGI conference in London, a familiar place. Patterns from childhood, familiar things, routines are so important. And churches can embrace the 3 principles, understanding behaviour and acknowledging increased spiritual awareness of people with dementia. It seems, as we lose our social inhibitions, we're able to better relate to spiritual things. And the reason, of course, is God does not change and can enable feelings of reassurance, acceptance, and provide familiar patterns of prayers, hymns, and even rituals. When things go wrong, as they will, you need to remember we reflect your emotions. We're like a mirror. If you're upset or agitated about something, we will certainly become agitated. But if you are calm and relaxed, we will become calm and relaxed. We only see part of a situation. I wonder how many of you recognise the pink picture. It's plum blossom. Some would have seen that immediately, and others not, and now feel a bit left out. Well, we often don't see the big picture. We just see a limited part of a situation we don't understand, whereas everyone else does, and we feel left out. We can also see things differently. For example, the lady's face. If you see that from a different angle, it says, liar. We might be seeing the same things as you from a different perspective, but we can both be right. We can revert to childhood patterns when we can't cope with life, just as we did as a child. What do children do? They have tantrums, throw things, shout, kick, run away, hide, cry. just as people with dementia do when life becomes too difficult. When I can't cope with life, I hide or cry. That's what I did as a young child. I found life was too much for me. But children often get more understanding than we do. But the church can understand all that and help us deal with it. Churches can be communities of acceptance and welcome, love, practical support. Perhaps have someone responsible for dementia looking out for the people who stop coming. Always a reason. Churches can provide dementia training and make sure everyone understands. You need to be there for the supporters as well, family, friends. Perhaps arrange 2 hours a month just to sit with a person with dementia to enable the supporter to get out and have some spare time away from the constant pressure. My daughter screamed all day and night for almost 2 years when she was a baby. And one person once a week took her out for just 2 hours to scream in her house. It made all the difference. It enabled me to keep going. Prayer makes a difference. Buildings need to be appropriate for people with dementia. Clear directions. Perhaps provide a quiet space where we can be taken if everything gets too much. We often can't find a way around. We don't know where the toilets are. We don't know how to use a soap dispenser if we've managed to unlock the door because it's different to what we have at home. And diagrams or pictures work far better than written words. Perhaps provide sessions for people with dementia, a lunch club or a tea time group, singing and music, which always calms, reassures and brings joy. Visiting is important, but we need to get it right. The visit does not have to be for very long. Always approach someone with dementia from the front. Never tap them on the back. That can be disastrous. Make eye contact. Sit down near them. Smile. Look interested. Be calm. Introduce yourself. Please don't ask factual questions. Talk slowly. Appropriate touch. Remind us of God's unconditional love and acceptance. We forget. But we'll remember whether we enjoyed the visit, even if we don't remember who visited us or how long they stayed. Those with dementia can be trapped inside the condition, but the real person remains until the end and can be found. It's as if we've forgotten how to open the front door. So we need others to find ways, just as we would if faced with such a situation. Try the back door, look through the window, get a ladder. Figuratively, of course. It is possible. Scripture means so much more since I have dementia. Sometimes I get upset, but Jesus got upset. When Lazarus died, and it says Jesus was troubled. The people were making so much noise and he was blamed. Unreasonable expectations. He wept. I cried. Everything just got too much. But he identified with all that we go through and he understands. He knew how to cope when others weren't coping. After the resurrection, Jesus walked through locked doors and the disciples were terrified, all in pieces. So how did he cope with their meltdown? Well, first he reassured them. It's so important to reassure again and again. He told them who he was. He even suggested that one touched him. And he asked them to do something familiar. Asked them to get him some food. Many passages in the Bible could be written for dementia, and I'll mention just two. Isaiah 35 could have been written for me. I get dreadful hallucinations, wild animals, and people can be very rude to me. I'm always getting lost. And it says there, there will be a highway where no one rude is allowed. It'll be impossible to get lost on this road. No dangerous wild animals. And God will welcome us home with gifts of joy. And as dementia progresses, speech can become difficult and we can live in a fog. 1 Corinthians 13 says, love never dies. Speech will be over one day. Now we don't see things clearly, we're in a fog. But until that day, we have 3 things to do. Trust in God, hope unswervingly, and love extravagantly. Carers or supporters of those with dementia often feel sad, discouraged, overwhelmed, resentful, alone, angry, at times embarrassed about the condition, trapped, frightened of the future. But if you ask a person living with dementia how they feel, they will come up with exactly the same words. We are not so different. Some may grieve for what never was. Some have better relationships than in the past, probably because what had upset things in the past is now forgotten. Carers can get exhausted and depressed and even deny such, hide it well, but they need support and respite. Don't make assumptions about them. They need to escape sometimes and not feel guilty if someone needs to go into care. In some cultures, that's completely unacceptable, but it's no reflection on how well they were looked after before. They need to be supported and encouraged, affirmed, because there is emotional cost in looking after anyone with dementia. I was sent this picture recently, a new puppy, lost and alone, finding comfort in snuggling up against a wooden fish and some round stones because it felt safe. I might have thought that was an unexpected way of finding safety, but we're all different. So suggestions for churches. Believe people with dementia can still walk with God and be spiritually alive. They can still know God, talk with and about him. And churches can provide a warm welcome for anyone, whatever the disability. Noise can upset us, so need to keep noise down before a service starts. Some people like crosses and candles and others don't. Everyone is different and we accept that. They might even cause interruptions. God accepts all of us. Someone friendly sitting alongside can help. There needs to be a clear, simple point in the sermon that we can remember and take home with us. Jesus was very good at talking at all levels of society. We need familiar hymns so we can join in. We need warning of changes, please, before they happen, because we can't cope with the unexpected. The Lord's Prayer and liturgy if used needs to be in a familiar format. And please make socialising after the service as easy as possible, because we don't know what to do or where to go. Sometimes you can enable people with dementia to do simple things within the church that makes them feel welcome and useful, perhaps doing a Bible reading or helping with refreshments. So I'll finish with the reminders. There's always a reason for anything. Feelings are so important and familiar patterns, and the true person remains until the end, but they need to be found. But love never fails. Kinsukuroi is the Japanese art of repairing pottery with gold or silver when it's broken, damaged, or in pieces, making it more beautiful and of greater worth because it was broken or damaged. But gold and silver are costly. I also see this as relating to those with damaged and broken lives. For me, I know God's love and grace poured daily into my life enriches it. But it's also a wonderful picture of how love and care poured into the lives of anyone with dementia makes them feel more valuable, makes them more beautiful. But it can be very costly for those to look after them. And we need to recognise that and support them too. Thank you.